Most gardeners believe that if they want to harvest more vegetables, they need more land, bigger raised beds, wider spacing, and constant fertilizer. They look at a small backyard, a narrow side yard, or a few square meters behind the house and immediately think, it's not enough. But what if the problem has never been space? What if the real limitation is not the size of your garden, but the way you are using it? Today, you are going to understand how a Korean cultivation method can produce up to 3 times more vegetables in the smallest spaces. Not through magic, not through expensive products, but through a complete change in how soil, plants, roots, and vertical layers work together as one living system. And if you stay until the end, you will know exactly how to apply this in just 1 square meter and turn a small area into a dense, productive, self-balancing food system. The biggest mistake in small gardens is empty soil. Most people plant a few lettuce seedlings, space them far apart, leave wide gaps between rows, and wait. They see bare ground and think it is necessary for airflow. They water exposed soil that dries quickly under the sun. They fertilize individual plants instead of feeding the system. And without realizing it, they are wasting light, moisture, biology, and surface area. In a small garden, every centimeter matters. When soil is exposed, sunlight hits it directly. Microorganisms suffer, moisture evaporates faster, and weeds occupy what could have been productive space. The Korean method begins with a radical idea. Empty soil is lost production. The ground should almost never be naked. It should always be covered, planted, or protected by organic matter. This approach is deeply influenced by principles similar to those found in Korean natural farming, a movement popularized by Cho Han-kyu that emphasizes living soil, microbial balance, and minimal external inputs. But here we are, not going into complicated fermentation formulas or advanced preparations. We are focusing on how the structural logic of this philosophy allows incredible productivity in small areas. The first pillar is living soil. Without living soil, dense planting fails. When soil is compacted, chemically overloaded, or biologically dead, roots compete aggressively. Plants stress each other. Growth becomes uneven. But when soil is alive, roots coexist instead of fight. Microorganisms break down organic matter continuously. Nutrients circulate naturally. The soil becomes soft, sponge-like, moisture-retaining, and breathable. Imagine 2 beds of the same size. In the first, the soil is hard, dry on top, and fertilized artificially. In the second, the soil is dark, crumbly, covered with mulch, full of fungal threads and organic residue. In which one can you safely plant closer together? In which one will roots expand freely? The Korean method prepares soil so that density becomes possible. It relies heavily on constant organic cover. Dry leaves, chopped branches, straw, composted plant material, these create a protective layer that stabilizes temperature and humidity. Beneath this layer, microorganisms multiply, earthworms tunnel, fungi form networks that connect plant roots. When roots are connected through fungal networks, they share nutrients and communicate stress signals. This cooperation is what allows more plants to live in less space. But soil alone does not triple production. The second pillar is intelligent density. Not random crowding, not chaotic planting, but strategic density. Instead of planting one type of vegetable in rows with wide spacing, the Korean-inspired approach mixes species based on root depth, leaf height, growth speed, and nutrient demand. Deep-rooted plants are combined with shallow-rooted ones. Fast growers are placed between slower crops. Tall plants create partial shade for sensitive greens. This transforms a flat garden into a layered system. For example, in 1 square meter, instead of planting only 9 lettuce heads spaced traditionally, you can plant 9 lettuce heads, intersperse them with radishes that mature quickly, add green onions between gaps, and include 1 or 2 vertical crops at the back, like climbing beans supported by a simple trellis. The lettuce occupies mid-level space. Radishes use shallow soil and are harvested early freeing room. Onions occupy narrow vertical root zones. Beans grow upward, not outward. Suddenly, the same square meter produces multiple harvests at different times. Another key concept is timing overlap. In conventional gardening, people harvest a bed completely and then reap. During that transition, soil stays empty. In this method, succession is continuous. Before one crop finishes, the next is already growing underneath or between it. When radishes are almost ready, lettuce seedlings are already establishing. When lettuce is harvested, young kale or spinach is ready to expand. There is no downtime. Production is layered in time as well as space. This is one of the reasons yields can appear to triple without expanding area. The third pillar is vertical expansion. Most small gardens are treated as two-dimensional surface, but vegetables can occupy vertical layers just like a forest does. In a forest, there is canopy, understory, shrubs, ground cover, and root crops. Beneath, the Caride method mimics this structure on a micro scale. You can install simple vertical supports made of bamboo, recycled wood, or meadow mesh. Climbing cucumbers, beans, or small gourds grow upward. Beneath them, shade-tolerant greens like spinach or certain lettuces thrive in the filtered light. At ground level, low herbs spread. Underneath, root crops develop quietly. When you think in 3 dimensions, 1 square meter becomes a cube of productivity. Light management is essential. Many gardeners fear the dense planting blocks, sunlight, but strategic density creates leaves shade soil, reducing evaporation. Slight shading reduces heat stress in hot climates. Reflective mulch or light-colored organic material can help bounce light back into lower leaves. Instead of harsh direct exposure, plants receive moderated light conditions, similar to natural ecosystems. Productivity increases not because each individual plant becomes enormous, but because the total biomass per area increases. Now let us quantify this. In a traditional system, 1 square meter might yield 9 mature lettuce heads over a cycle. In the dense Korean-style system, that same square meter can yield 9 lettuce heads, 12 radishes harvested earlier, a continuous supply of green onions, and vertical beans producing for weeks. If you measure by weight, total edible biomass can easily double or triple. It is not about exaggeration. It is about stacking outputs. Another retention secret of this method is root layering. Some plants develop deep taproots that break compacted soil and bring nutrients upward. Others have fibrous shallow roots that occupy the upper layer. When combined, they do not compete directly. Carrots can grow alongside leafy greens if soil is soft and biologically active. Beets can share space with herbs. The deeper roots access minerals below, while shallow feeders capture nutrients from decomposing mulch. The soil becomes a vertical buffet rather than a battlefield. Water efficiency also improves. Dense planting with mulch reduces evaporation dramatically. When soil stays moist longer, plants experience less stress. Stressed plants produce less. Balanced moisture allows consistent growth, which contributes to higher overall yield. In small spaces, water management is critical. Bare soil in a small bed can dry out within hours under intense sun. Covered, planted soil retains life. But here is where many people fail. They try to copy dense planting without preparing soil. They remove spacing but keep chemical dependence. They ignore organic cover. The result is weak, leggy plants competing for limited nutrients. To truly achieve 3 times more vegetables, the foundation must be alive. Before increasing density, incorporate compost, add mulch, avoid deep tilling that destroys fungal networks, and allow soil structure to develop naturally. Another overlooked factor is monoculture invites pests. Diversity confuses them. When different plant aromas mix, pest detection becomes harder. Some plants attract beneficial insects. Flowers integrated within vegetable beds increase pollinator presence. Instead of wide empty paths, Narrow stepping stones allow more planting area while maintaining access. Even borders can be productive with herbs. If you have only a balcony or a very small yard, this logic still applies. Containers can be layered vertically. A large pot can host a central tomato supported upward, surrounded by basil at mid-level and lettuce at the edge. Hanging structures above can hold trailing plants. The principle remains. Fill vertical airspace and underground depths simultaneously. Let us walk step by step through implementing this in 1 square meter. First, loosen soil gently without turning it deeply. Add compost on top rather than mixing aggressively. Cover with a layer of organic mulch, about 5 centimeters thick. Water thoroughly and allow it to settle for a few days. Then map your layers. Choose one vertical crop for the back or center with support. Choose mid-level leafy greens, spaced closer than traditional guidelines, but not overcrowded. Just enough so a mature leaf slightly touch. Between them, insert fast root crops. Along edges, plant narrow herbs. As soon as one crop is harvested, replant immediately. Keep soil covered at all times. Maintenance is simple. Instead of removing plant residues, chop and drop them as mulch. Feed soil life rather than feeding individual plants. Observe sunlight patterns. Adjust if one plant dominates excessively. Trim leaves if necessary to balance light distribution. When you apply this system consistently, something interesting happens. Your perception of space changes. You stop seeing a small garden as limited. You start seeing it as a layered ecosystem. Production increases because you are harvesting multiple categories of vegetables from the same footprint. Instead of 9 units, you harvest 30. Instead of waiting for one cycle, you overlap cycles. The promise of 3 times more vegetables in the smallest spaces is not a marketing exaggeration when applied correctly. It is the result of stacking functions: biological stacking, spatial stacking, temporal stacking, and vertical stacking. Each layer adds yield without expanding land. And perhaps the most powerful realization is that this system reduces dependency on constant inputs. When soil is alive and covered, fertilizer needs drop. When plants cooperate, pest outbreaks decrease. When diversity increases, resilience strengthens. You do not need a farm. You do not need large raised beds. You need intentional design. 1 square meter, managed intelligently, can outperform a poorly managed 10 square meter plot. The Korean method teaches that productivity is not about expansion. It is about integration. And once you understand that, small spaces become powerful. If you begin today with just 1 bed and apply these principles: living soil, intelligent density, vertical layering, continuous succession, you will not only harvest more food, you will witness your garden transform into a compact ecosystem that works with itself instead of against itself. That is how you grow 3 times more vegetables in the smallest spaces, not by forcing growth, but by designing cooperation.